You are listening to MFM 92.6. Move to the music.
It is SiyakhulaLive on 92.6. It's MFM. We're starting the show on that very Los Negros earthy soul note. It is moving to the music, as we always like to do, 9 minutes after 6 on my watch. If you've just joined us, you are bang on in time. My name is SiyakhulaLive. I am pleased to be in your company this evening, as we like to do every Wednesday evening between 6 and 7. You and I have a date on this channel, 92.6, streaming live on www.mfm.co.za from wherever you are. A very big shout out to Vilnay for holding it down on the MFM drive between 3 and 6. You can, of course, catch up again with Vilnay. She's back again on the Thursday edition of the MFM drive tomorrow. Till then, it's between you and I and the next hour or so until 7 o'clock. We're having conversations that inform and transform. And of course, welcome to Heritage Month, everybody. We do this in South Africa every September, celebrating annually, marking our nation's diverse culture and heritage, a reminder to embrace what we've inherited from our foremothers and forefathers. And this month is an opportunity to tell our stories and proudly claim and reclaim our identities and rediscover ourselves and our communities, to bask in the rich art and culture that is the lifeblood of our nation. And that's what we're here to do, celebrate our stories, celebrate our voice as South Africans. We're going to do that in style this evening. So be part of the conversation as well, of course. 07444 00926. That's how you can get in touch with me on the WhatsApp line. And of course, as we like to say, the university's transformation office as well as HR bring you this show, and we make award-winning radio this side. So use your voice, tell your story, and don't be afraid to be who you are, exactly who you are. Celebrate that. And that's what we're going to bring out hopefully throughout the month of September. I don't know how I feel about this time of the year. You know, there's a spring in the air, right? There's a spring in our steps. It does feel like we are clearing the runway for something. Some big event is coming towards the end of the year. I think we do see holidays and December in sight, but we are so inundated with everything that's to happen between now and those holidays, right? It's condensed, there are deadlines. We are in the thick of it, but we also know that rest is looming. And I do invite you, when rest comes, grab it with both hands. Until then, it's you and me. We're going to be doing this every week until the end. Lots of music, good music, great conversation, and we get there. Today on the show, we're joined by storytellers who use their voice to hold up a mirror to our society. We are in conversation with legendary South African playwright and director Mike van Graan and actress Kim Blanche Adonis, who will reflect on their theatre production, My Fellow South Africans, which is a satirical representation of the current state of the South African political landscape. I don't know if you've seen it or if you've heard about it, but it's absolutely brilliant. And we're going to play a short snippet in a short while just to hear, or just to let you in on really what My Fellow South Africans is all about. And we have the playwright as well as the actor in studio, rather on the line, joining us on the show this evening. The play My Fellow South Africans has been touring South Africa throughout the year. So let me do this. Let me give you a small idea of what My Fellow South Africans is about. Have a listen. Here is the performance.
My fellow South Africans, welcome on board South African Airways, your one-way ticket to junk status. Our pilot today is Captain Cyril Ramapalapala, So this flight will operate on autopilot. His co-pilot in the sucking cockpit is Comrade Praveen Gordon, Minister of SSEs, the state's stolen enterprises. Navigation will be provided by Fikile Mbalula, promoted as the railways vanished on his watch as the Minister of Transport. Our flight engineer is seconded by Eskom, which means that like stage 4, cancer, this flight may be terminal and may not leave the terminal. If we do take off, we will be able to provide in-flight entertainment through the parliamentary channel, which also doubles as the crime channel, and Cartoon Network. My name is Take Some More Mentashe, and I will be your purse on this flight. This means that I will help myself to your purses with the help of Eskom's darkness. For your own safety, we advise you to leave this aircraft now. In which case, your refund will be processed by the Department of Home Affairs. Business class is, of course, reserved for the ANC, as in screwing the nation, they come first. In the interest of unity in business class, the Radical Economic Transformation faction will sit on the extreme right. The CR, or Surawamapala faction, will sit on the right, and then we go with whoever wins faction in the middle. Because there's no one on the left of the ANC, this section will be reserved for Thabo Bester as he plans his next escape. We apologize for the 6-hour delay. This was to allow business class passengers to auction their boarding passes to the faction that offers them the best seats. And parachutes. In business class, there'll be a choice of buffalo or ostrich. In economy class, we will serve the usual 3 courses: promises, spin, and denial.
That's just a small clip of My Fellow South Africans. It's a must-see multi-sketch political satire and performance there by Blanche Adonis. And, of course, we'll have Kim chatting to us a little later. And, of course, the playwright and director of My Fellow South Africans, Mike van Graan, will be on the line in just a bit. Interesting conversations. How brilliant.
Stellenbosch, Kayamandi, Clutersville. We've got you covered on 92.6. MFM 92.6. Move to the music.
Let's do just that. It's 17 after 6. Mike van Graan will be on the line when we come back. The song is called Into Entle Uthando Zide. Enjoy. It's 19 after 6. You're listening to the beautiful sounds of Uthando Zide with Into Entle. You're also listening to SiyakhulaLive on MFM 92.6, having conversations that inform and transform. And your host, Katlego Letlonkani, taking you to the hour 7 o'clock. And as we promised, Mike van Graan is on the line with me. We're chatting all about My Fellow South Africans. This is a must-see multi-sketch political satire by, of course, legendary South African playwright Mike van Graan and performed by Blanche Adonis. Mike, thank you so much for making time and joining us on SiyakhulaLive this evening. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure. Maybe let's get straight into it. We just played a clip now for all our listeners, those who haven't made their way to see it. And it is really quite brilliant, Mark. But tell us a little bit about how the idea of the play, My Fellow South Africans, came about.
Yeah, so last year, in anticipation of the elections that were going to happen this year, I thought of doing a piece that, would basically catalyze debate around the kinds of things that people need to think about when voting, but also as a way of encouraging people to participate, because I think over the last 6 elections, there's been this marked decline in the number of people who have gone to vote. And this kind of is an indication of just how disillusioned people have become with democracy. And I thought that, maybe one of the things I need to do is, use it and use the arts as a way of just encouraging people to think that the only way that things are really going to change is if they participate. And so that's when I put together the initial bunch of sketches from previous pieces that I've done, but also new sketches. And then got Kim, who was doing another show of mine, He Had It Coming, which is all about gender-based violence, and invited her to do this particular piece. And so it started right about the 24th of April last year, and just kind of has continued through to the elections. And now, given the new reality that we have in a post-election government of national unity,
yes.
We've done a whole bunch of new sketches, and so now it's kind of evolved into my fellow coalition partners.
Right. And I mean, maybe let me ask you, who is My Fellow South Africans for, and what kind of engagements are you hoping that this satirical representation of South Africa's political landscapes, what are you aiming that it sparks?
Yeah, so in its original version, it was aimed, across the board at everyone, and one of the things that really struck us as the creative team, Kim and I, as we traveled around the country doing this, because we've done it in about 6 or 7 different provinces, is the way that it has resonated with quite a diverse range of people. So from CEOs of kind of major public companies through to NGOs, from kind of like lefty activists through to academics and students and young people, through to even high school students. And yeah, it's just kind of, because it's a multi-sketch review, we were able to have different sketches that, in a way, honed in at different audiences. Because, as you know, we've got this incredibly diverse population. So it's not just like one particular audience that you're speaking to, even in one particular locality. There are a whole range of different audiences within an audience, as it were, given people's different lived experiences, their different levels of education, their different kind of exposures to theatre. So we were very gratified by the range of people who did respond in the way that they did. We have these comment books that we leave in the foyers after the show for people to, just respond to the work. And there are pages and pages of people from, again, the most diverse range of backgrounds responding very generously and very warmly to the piece. So the idea really is about using creativity and using theatre in particular as a way of getting people to have conversations that we desperately need to have in this country, but which we may be too polite or too shy about having, or too scared in some cases. So because theatre, in theatre you can say things and you can have characters say things that people in real life are too scared to say. By virtue of doing this, you can provoke and get people to think and get them to say, you know what, that resonates so much with what I'm thinking, but I've been too scared to say so thank you for saying it on my behalf. So there's an element of catharsis as well.
Yeah, and I resonate, and you actually, through you, I feel like I'm using my voice as well. And I think that's also the spirit of kind of when we think around Heritage Month conversations and we think about our identity, our collective identity as a nation, the voices and the ability for us to actually raise our voices and speak honestly is often, there's often very little room for us to do that. And I think this is where the arts come in to actually unlock that. And so I think for me, I'd like to also know from you, as such a, a renowned South African playwright and director, how would you like your role and contribution in the South African arts landscape to be remembered?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose as someone who does use his craft to contribute towards a better country. I'm going to sound so trite, so that's why I'm kind of struggling with how to say it. But, I'm not the kind of playwright who believes that I am above everyone else, or that I'm so, I should be on a pedestal somewhere, or that you must pay tickets to come and see my work and I must be in some ivory tower somewhere. I mean, I see the work that I do has been very much part of my broader kind of social activism to bring about a better society for everyone. I think for me, as someone who kind of obviously grew up during the days of apartheid, and so, we had this vision for our country to be one that served all of our people, that people who had been historically marginalized and oppressed and deprived were now going to have, their interests and their aspirations kind of taken care of. Unfortunately, this has not been the case. And here we are 30 years into a new dispensation, as it were, and we've got greater poverty, greater inequality, levels of gender-based violence, astronomical and the like. So as a person who's concerned about these things and about everybody having a better life, I'd like to see my theatre as contributing to the conversations that we need to have in order for us to bring about a different and much better society for everyone.
That's so important, and I think that it really sticks to the original purpose, I think, of why you make art and why one makes art. Is it still? Are you still touring? Can our listeners also still catch it? Those who haven't seen it.
Yes. So the new version of the piece, My Fellow South Africans, as I said, has evolved into My Fellow Coalition Partners.
Yes.
We had the first 4 performances of this piece about 2 weeks ago at Cedar House in Kenilworth. So now that it's kind of got legs, as it were, and it's played to a bit of an audience, it will now begin a bit of a tour again.
Okay.
So we're looking from the end of September through to the end of the year. It will play in different places, and it's available for people to invite us to come and do it. So we've done a number of shows at Stellenbosch University, and I've really enjoyed doing it there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was quite an engagement. Yeah,
I hope that we'll be invited again.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think that it's good. It can drive quite an engagement as well from both our student and our staff communities here. So I also look forward to engaging with it as a member of the Stellenbosch University community. Definitely. Mike, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know we've got Kim on the line also. So we'll chat to Kim in a little bit. But that was Mike van Graan, of course, a legendary South African playwright and director, joining us to chat about My Fellow South Africans, a must-see multi-sketch political satire.
Stellenbosch, Kamandi, Cluttersville. We've got you covered on 92.6. MFM 92.6. Move to the music.
It's 28 after 6. And of course, as Mike said, the point is for artists to create a different world, to map out a different world, to hold a mirror for a possibility of a different hope, or for a different world. And in my world, that's kind of signaling hope, right? I see artists as these people with the flame and a mirror at the same time, kind of showing us who we really are, but also shining a light to say we can get to the other side. So let music also take us here.
Stellenbosch, Kamandi, Cluttersville. We've got you covered on 92.6. MFM 92.6. Move to the music.
Moving to the music there of India Re, there's hope. Of course there is. And it's 33 after the hour, 6 o'clock on my watch. And we are still chatting to people who are using their voice this Heritage Month and using their voice to hold a mirror, to express what is our story as a nation, as a society. We're chatting to Kim Blanche Adonis, who joins us on the line this evening. Kim is the performer in My Fellow South Africans, which is a multi-sketch political satire that is, of course, written by Mike van Graan. Kim is currently working on three one-person shows, namely My Fellow South Africans, My Fellow Coalition Partners, and He Had It Coming. All 3 shows are written by Mike van Graan. She hopes to use her dedication and passion for the craft to pour back into communities, especially young people. Thank you so much for joining us, Kim. Welcome to SiyakhulaLive. Thanks for making time.
Hi, Katlego. Thank you so much for having us.
It is so nice to actually get to chat to you, Kim, after also sharing a snippet of, and I'm laughing because it actually is so funny, but it's so brilliant at the same time. But let's start at a little bit about you in terms of why acting and why theatre for Kim.
Yeah, I was listening to the snippet, and you know what's so interesting is that the show has changed and evolved with the landscape of South Africa, and so it's so cool to listen to something that's a little bit older and to see where we are now.
Okay.
Yeah. Why acting? Why I chose this? Well, I was quite. I loved words. I loved reading. I loved writing creative stories at school, and so acting was kind of like a space where I could bring all of those elements together. I was quite a shy child, and so once I took drama, I think I took it in grade 9 when you have to decide which subjects you're choosing, and I started doing drama, and my confidence just really, really grew. It was a really great tool for me, and I haven't looked back since. Yeah.
And I think, so many people listening, even young people who are in maybe primary school or in their, choosing subjects in high school may also resonate to say, I'm quite shy, I don't know what, but also there is a voice inside of them. And here's Kim also saying, I was once there as well, and this is how drama actually, unlocked my voice. But, a little bit about from your side, how has it been working with South African legendary playwright and director Mike van Graan, who has shaped and influenced, the South African theatre heritage?
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. I don't even think I have the right word to describe how much I've learned in the past 2 years. Because, like being around Mike, his writing, his ideas, it's just so inspiring, honestly. I always say to people, I feel extremely blessed and lucky because I'm learning so much. And I think this intergenerational relationship between his perspective and mine as a born free and Mike, someone who was really in the apartheid struggle, really two different perceptions, and it's a lovely space where we meet and we can discuss. And, what the amount of people that Mike always brings to our shows and their feedback, and it's so, so beneficial to me and shaping me as a young actress. It's been really, really incredible, yeah.
And I think, Kim, this is what contributes to maybe how the show's also received across the country, by audiences young and old, because it does have this kind of intergenerational representation as well. So I think, watching you, but I know it's also have this legacy of what has been happening in that political landscape in South Africa. So I think it allows us all to be able to kind of engage in the conversation. We're chatting all about my fellow South Africans. Here we've got the actress Kim Blanche Adonis. And of course, it was written by Mike van Graan. So for me, I'll also ask you that question, Kim, as a performer, who is my South Africans for? And what kind of engagements are you hoping that this representation of South Africans' political landscape sparks?
Well, yeah, for me, I think it's definitely a show that everybody can receive. I think that international audiences have responded to it as well. When we've had a few international guests, they've always said that it sheds such a great light on what's happening in South Africa and South Africa's socio-political climate. And they get to understand through the characters what people are experiencing. And so for me, the word my fellow South Africans, obviously Mike has taken that from, Cyril's
our family meetings.
Words. Yeah. And so that speaks to those times of family meetings, those times where we were all on the edge of our seats waiting to find out what the next call to action would be. And so, I quite like it when Mike initially said that was going to be the name. I thought, what a brilliant name. There isn't anything else that really speaks to a wide variety of people. And that's the thing. It has resonated with literally young people in schools. We were at the Hilton Arts Festival, and there were about 400 students that we were so privileged to play to. And they responded so warmly. And then we go to an old age home, and we have the exact same response. People really wanting theatre in those spaces, that they don't necessarily have access to theatre in those spaces. So providing that access through Mike has been absolutely incredible. And we can see that it resonates from young people to old people, no matter what color you are, no matter what race you are, because these are kind of, universal issues that speak to everyone, yeah.
And how has the tour been, in terms of some of the highlights and perhaps some of the challenges that came along with it?
Sure. For me, it was the first thing for me as an artist, the first time touring a one-person show. I really hit the ground running here. And so every experience for me has been absolutely incredible. I've been really tired, but really excited because I've got to meet great people. I've got to perform in different spaces, whether it be an occupied building to a MSC cruise ship. All of this with just me and my box, and Mike often sitting in the technical team. So Mike is writing, often doing the tech for the show, and then also offering direction. So we're really doing everything we can and to make the tour happen. So I think, the tour was not glamorous because we were working and, we had to make things work, but so worth it, yeah.
Yes. Let's have a continued listen. Here is Kim. Let's just play a few more minutes. I love the entire thing. So let's play a little bit more, but stay on the line for us, Kim.
I will.
Please use the toilets in economy class, unless, of course, you're a tenderpreneur. In which case, you're welcome to use the ANC. Business class toilets. Please indicate with which minister you'd like to be tender. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the clip into the buckle. When you hear a click, don't worry, it's just Helen Ziller practicing her tossa. In anticipation for the election in 2024, she's learning how to say, we will fix the 11,000 potholes in Kailicha. We advise you to keep your seatbelts fastened as we pass through areas of high turbulence, otherwise known as city coalition governments. The weather en route to 2024 will be characterized by thunderstorms, poor visibility, mostly dark clouds, and very few silver linings, as the silver has been stolen to pay the ANC staff. In the event of the flight losing altitude as quickly as the rand, oxygen masks will be lowered in business class. For the rest of you, assume brace position and kiss your ass goodbye. In the case of an emergency, if you are seated next to an exit, please get out of the way so that business class passengers can get out first. In such instances, blue lights will flash and light up towards the exits. In the unlikely case of us being hijacked, again, please remain calm as we are rerouted to Dubai, the headquarters of the hijackers. Please note that because the ANC staff are still partially paid by coal mine owners, this is still a smoking flight. Our toilets are equipped with solar power detectors. Anybody caught using solar power will be fined heavily. We are aware that you had other airline choices, like many others who have used Qantas and British Airways, so we thank you for choosing SA Stay. We invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy being taken for a ride.
It's hilarious. It is hilarious. There is the performance by Kim Blanche Adonis, who is also joining us on the line. The performance is on My Fellow South Africans, which is a multi-sketch political satire written by Mike van Graan. Impressive, Kim. And, how did it feel also contributing to that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. Like, sometimes I look at Mike and I'm like, how did you come
How
up with
did
this?
you? It's and you know what? I'll never unsee it. I'll never unsee it. Now, next time when I'm in my flight, I'll kind of, I can never unsee it. Absolutely creative.
Yeah, I mean, every time I sit in the flight, I'm like, should I just stand up and do that to make people laugh?
Yeah, actually, next time do it on a flight, actually, and just take control. Maybe let me also ask you on the state of South African theatre, Kim. If you look at just, the state of South African theatre and its heritage, having performed around the country and engaged audiences around the country, what would you say, or what is your impression on the state of where South African theatre is and the heritage of South African theatre?
Well, yeah, and we've been privileged enough to go to most of the big festivals in and around South Africa. We've been to the National Arts Festival, Kaka and Ka, Bushfire Festival even. And, it's been quite, I think since COVID, the theatre scene in South Africa has taken a big knock, which is also why we were so, not concerned, but really pushing for this minimalistic kind of theatre style where it's just me and the box so that we can be in any space. Most actors and directors and creative teams who are moving with big sets, it's quite difficult to kind of move that show into different spaces. And so there's a lot of economics when it comes to, what it takes to fund a production. A one-person show with minimal set is obviously fewer costs from a producer perspective. And so I think since COVID, because most of the theatres were shut down, people were really, really struggling to get back up. But I think things are really, really picking up now. If we look at what so many great, big theatres are doing, they have constant productions that they've even, at the Baxter, for example, they've even selected a group of actors to be the resident actors, and so now they make work kind of on a rotational basis. I think they've had 3 productions so far. So I think, looking at Cape Town and what's happening, and even looking at Joburg, the theatre scenes are alive. However, I do think that it's taking a while for audiences to get up and get back into that, theatre-going culture. But overall, really strong stories, really great narratives, really beautiful young directors emerging, young talent emerging. And I think it's a space that's always, constantly blossoming. That's my perspective.
We're chatting to Kim Blanche Adonis, who's the performer on My Fellow South Africans. Lastly, Kim, just before I let you go, your hope going forward, for the production, for just theatre in general, as we reflect on Heritage Month and where we've come from as a society, what we take forward into our future, and the kind of stories that will take us there.
Yeah, I think for me, my hope would obviously be to be able to tell stories that represent minorities in our country, to be able to tell stories that, people can relate to and can see themselves in. I really, really thrilled to have this opportunity to work with Mike, because his stories really, really do impact and socially impact large majorities of South Africa. And I think it's been so great. It's been heavy, at times. There's a lot of emotional labor that goes into it. But my hope is that I continue staying on this path, doing work that matters and work that has the potential to spark conversation and you really impact and influence people. I think the hope for the country, I guess for me, it would always be, I really hope that the Rainbow Nation becomes something that we don't just celebrate when the Booker are winning, My hope is that kind of atmosphere and spirit really seeps down into the grassroots level, and that we as people can have these types of conversations on air, on TV, in the theatre, wherever it may be, and constantly stay open and learning from each other. Yeah.
And I think, theatre is such a universal language, from Oma and Opa to our students to our staff. So it is a brilliant language. And so thank you for carrying the work and keeping that torch burning. It's Kim Blanche Adonis. Thanks for making time, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's Kim Blanche Adonis, who's actress and acting coach and performer, of course, for My Fellow South Africans. If you haven't seen it, there is an installation that will continue to happen throughout the year. As Mike said, you can look forward to many more happening around the country. And who knows, maybe they might pay another visit to Stellenbosch University.
The best tunes that make you move to the music. MFM 92.6.
Let's see what we've got over here. It's 10 to the hour, 7 o'clock. So I'm almost out of here, but I will not just leave you without some more music. So I'm going to do just that. Let's do this. The song is called Pure Surprise. UPZ, DKP, It's the Avi Elman Alex Senna Latin Bossa mix. Enjoy. You're listening to MFM 92.6, streaming live on www.mfm.co.za. Seven minutes to go till the hour, 7 o'clock. I'm almost out the building, playing out there. Playing in the background is Pure Surprise. What a nice song. UPZ, DKP, it's the Avi Elman Alex Senna Latin Bossa mix. Absolutely nice song, and that is how I think it brings me to the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining me and having the conversation that we like to have on the show, learning through dialogue. And of course, a big thank you to my guest this evening from my fellow South Africans and really exploring the heritage of theatre and the possibility of theatre to tell our stories and raise our voices as a nation. So thank you so much to a legendary playwright, South African playwright Mike van Graan, as well as performer, actress and acting coach Kim Adonis. Thank you so much for joining me. And of course, thank you so much to my producer, SiyakhulaLive producer, doing what you do. And of course, it is time for me to get on out of here. It's 5 minutes to go till 7 o'clock.
You are listening to MFM 92.6. Move to the music.